All right, is the screen visible, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Just give me one sec. Anna, could you tell me about those questions? Or like at least just send them to me on WhatsApp.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Let's see what technicalities are they touching upon. Cool. We'll start. Okay, the attendance is thoda low. I was hoping. All right, no issues. All right, let's start. So let's start with the English language sample, English wala section. Okay. So it was pretty much, how it used to be, almost the same. So let's start with the length of the passage. Now there are 430 plus words here. Okay, it was somewhere around 434 or 435 if I'm not wrong. So it was a decently lengthy passage compared to last year's paper as well as last year's sample paper. It is on similar lines. Okay, so if you have gone through last year's paper, the preceding one, let's say 2023 edition, there the length of the paper was काफी ज़्यादा. However, the difficulty level of the questions or the entire paper was less, extended in GK. QT also to an extent. Shruti, can you please mute? Thank you. Pradeep, it's just the sample paper, the 2024 sample paper. I guess you must be having it. I did share it before.
So actually, I didn't receive it. That's why.
Okay, okay. Cool. I'll just share it right now. Wait.
Yes.
I'll share it on the chat box itself. Just give me one sec.
Sir, can you send it in the group also so that I can access?
Yeah, you will be able to download this. Don't worry.
Yes, sir.
I have. No, Anisha. I highly doubt they will be releasing any, like anything else apart from this one. This is everything you've got. No more sample paper. So this is. So there won't be differences. You know this, guys. Know this, okay? Just because they've reduced the number of questions to 150, I really don't think that there will be some sort of difference in the types of question they're asking you all. Okay, it would be pretty much on the similar lines with minor ups and downs here and there. So questions will be like this, just that now your time management has to be done in a different manner. Now you have that leeway that okay, you can give more time to several sections. So that is the thing. Okay. Other than that, questions will be on the similar lines. So resuming what we started, the length is pretty much on the similar lines. However, a very big caveat that this is a sample paper. Okay, and things may differ, things may differ. So analyzing the new, post 2020 CLAT, post the 2020th edition, when they actually changed the pattern, the English and logic section are pretty much, you can term them as scoring sections. You can score really well here. You need to understand that अगर आपने यहाँ पे थोड़ा गड़बड़ किया, then it would be really hard for you to, make up for it. And considering that we just started with September, right now you should be thoroughly done with these two sections so that you have time for GK, QT, and current legal knowledge. Okay. But nonetheless, if you haven't done so, you please, I mean, accelerate. And I mean, like, just accelerate at say 8,000 RPM or something like that. Okay. Don't skip it. Now, when I say these are scoring sections, I do not intend to mean that you are supposed to solve each and every question to it, but just that, like, it is very hard to make difference here, because easy questions are something which everyone is going to do. Once you'll see while discussing this sample paper itself, you'll see that some questions are itna easy that all of us can do spot on. So उसके बाद एक एवरेज वाला आता है ना, मीडियम लेवल डिफिकल्टी का. दैट इज ऑल्सो समथिंग दैट most of us will be most of us will able, like हो जाएगा. I mean, you wouldn't have to think much, you would be able to do it. Now that hard question wala spectrum, so that is where you're supposed to make differences here. And mind you, I do not like to say it, but it is a race, you know, to an extent. It's a marathon or a race, whatever you're saying. You're just supposed to get more marks than the other candidates. That's what a competitive examination is supposed to mean. Anyway, let's start with the passage itself. So if I were you, suppose I'm sitting in the examination hall and I get a passage like this. Okay, now again, this is not a hard and fast rule. You may deviate from it, but my way of touching these two sections, especially English, was that when I took CLAT, when I wrote the paper, I used to read the questions first, not the options, just the questions. How best would the reader describe Frank? Okay, now I understand. Like, you know, I haven't started reading the passage yet. I have just gone through this question that, okay, the passage intends, the like question setter asks me कि भाई एक character है इस passage में named Frank, what would be his best possible description? So now I have, you know, in the back end of my mind, I have something like that. Okay, wherever Frank is mentioned in the passage, I need to understand what kind of a person Frank is. Okay, अगेन देखो बहुत छोटा सा सवाल था, एक वेरी शॉर्ट लाइन एंड इजीली आपके दिमाग में बैठ सकता था. देन व्हाट डज द ऑथर मीन बाय विल हैव टू फिगर आउट व्हाट टू डू विद ईच अदर्स कंपनी. नाउ अगेन this is a, you know, phrase from the passage, it's a line from the passage. Now whenever you'll be reading the passage, you know, especially in these type of questions, you will figure out that जब यहाँ पे ये statement आप passage में पढ़ोगे ना, आपके again back end से forend में आएगा कि listen, this is something the question was asking me. Okay, and you will figure it out then and there that, okay, what is suppose, like what is the supposed meaning of this. Cool. Then the third one, what do you think Frank meant by comment freedom is more important to me? Again, a fact based question, you know, the fact is given in the passage itself. So again, I'm telling you a very very big caveat that ऐसा नहीं है कि I'm asking all of you to go through the questions first. Again, not the options, just the question first before reading the passage. You've been taking mocks. You already have your own, you know, setup ready, your own understanding ready कि कैसे क्या हो रहा है, what is suiting you the best. But however, I would still, you know, like you to give this trick a shot. If you haven't been doing this so far, give it like 3-4 mocks and see if you can actually improve. You know, this is to boost your accuracy. Okay, it is killing time, but now understand the questions, total number of question is reduced to 120, so you are getting a leeway in terms of time. This year's paper will more be about your accuracy than your time management. Okay, first thing first, that you need to ace QT this year, okay, in the 2024 edition, until unless it's like extremely hard. So this will give you काफी ज़्यादा advantage. Other than that, it's more about your accuracy than about your time management, because now you're getting sufficient time. The same paper, you know, 3 batches have solved in the same timing, 3 batches have solved a paper of 150 marks and they've scored, you know, like 90 to 95 for top 3, and some toppers have scored exceptionally well. They've scored really good. So your bracket is now, again, the number of questions are decreasing, but still I would expect you to be in, like, again, ये जो number है ये बहुत ज़्यादा डिपेंड करेगा पेपर के ऊपर, बट स्टिल 85 to 90 तो आपको रखना ही रखना है. ठीक है, so for that you need accuracy. If you will calculate, if you'll do basic mathematics, that what would be my accuracy if I'm scoring 90 in a 150 marks a question, I'm scoring 88 in a 120 marks a question, you know, you will understand that यहाँ पे accuracy ज़्यादा required है. Simple maths. So for that, in order to, you know, increase your accuracy, you can do this. You can just read the questions first and then revert back to the passage. Okay, This helps सबसे ज़्यादा in inference based what do you call it, vocab questions, So in CLAT 2020, in 2020, they did ask, I think, a direct vocab based question, post which all the vocab questions are basically inference based vocab questions. Now, what is that? I will explain once we'll reach this specific question. But agar you think it yourself, right? If you were supposed to figure out a meaning of a word, suppose you say, what is the meaning of this term of the passage? You know the term. While reading the passage itself, you will, when you'll come across that term, you will have the opinion that, okay, I need to infer out what could be the apt meaning of this term. So in that manner, this again helps you. Okay. So fourth question we read, pick the word that best describes Frank's behavior. And what do you think the author stopped? Okay. Now you have fairly decent idea what the questions are. Now remember, when we were discussing the sample, when we were discussing the sections of legal, GK, at that time we weren't reading the questions first and then reverting back to the passage. No. But English, especially English, logic maybe you can go with the flow, but I would prefer you try this trick. Okay. Now let's start reading the passage. Have you guys already done this? Hello, I'm audible. Not yet. Okay. Okay. Cool. Then let's read it together. So now that you have fairly decent idea what are the questions posed to you, now see how things will differ. For many, the pandemic has revealed the porous nature of our bodies and lives, the invisible ties between one and another, the need to do well by others. For others, it has affirmed the value of keeping apart, entrenching the deep histories of property, segregation, and isolation that secures white well-being in the US. Okay. So it basically talks about there's a distinction, this pandemic is uprooting, that there's a division in the society जो इस pandemic की वजह से बाहर आ रहा है, slightly moderate level की ये line है. Let's see. I tell Frank, okay, now you see, this is what I was talking about. Frank is into picture now. You already know a question. In your backend, you have a question that we need to describe what kind of a person Frank is. Okay. So the author is telling Frank. So it's a narrative passage. Again, I tell Frank. First person mein written hai. So it's a narrative form of passage. That we need to learn how to live together. That the country and the planet need this. I'm over this, he retorts. Frank says, I'm over this. I'm going to build my little hamlet. 2 weeks after the Capitol invasion, so this is directed toward the 6th Jan 2021 Capitol Hill siege. Frank sent me a video message from a small town in northern Indiana. Dozens of men and women packed indoors at the sports bar, not a mask inside. People die. Okay, now again, people die. Ye Frank ki baat aa rahi hai. I have never been afraid of it. I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I guess. Okay. Who says that? Again, Frank. I was feeling hurt and little combative myself, and I started throwing facts and statistics back at him. People are playing Russian roulette with the blah, 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 blah. So the entire crux of the passage here says, thoda difficult language mein hai. I understand that it's a direct relation with the pandemic, that in the pandemic, there is a division between the society. On one end, there are people who would want to follow the COVID-19 induced norms, like, wear masks, maintain social distancing, try to, get vaccinated or something like that. That is one end of the society, which the author, so here, listen, I started throwing facts and statistics back at him, which the author is trying to, to which the author's views align. Whereas then there is a person like Frank. Okay, now Mr. Frank is on this spectrum. Those people who are of the opinion that no, COVID-19 is nothing. I should be given a choice. I should be given a choice. We need to learn how to, I'm over this, he retorts. I'm going to build my little hamlet. It should be my choice. Now, you will read, let's read further. Let's see. Frank remained defiant. So then he started saying something. The author gave him certain facts and statistics. Frank ne kya bola? Na, defined. So what kind of character Frank ka ban raha hai, you're getting in your mind. Freedom is more important to me. again, I think we had this term while reading the questions. You will see we had this term. So see again, this was in the back end of my mind. So when I read this, now I will be very much thoughtful that, okay, what do Frank mean by this? In the face of this difficult lesson, walls of retreat are a time-worn choice. Like many Americans on the right, Frank has lately given up trusting anything but conservative media. See, Frank, so this shows that Frank is a part of conservative media. Okay. At his request, I've given him a pseudonym here, but he's mostly give up on me. He has mostly given up on me. He faults me for failing to defend our liberties. So Frank is of the opinion कि भाई COVID-19 में freedom, my liberty is more important to me. So you can't, forcefully ask me to stay in a house, to not go out. He says he faults me for failing to defend our liberties. So Frank is saying that author is incorrect. The author is not defending his liberty and for being unwilling to leave my own cocoon to see firsthand his unmasked pandemic life. Okay. I wish I could have done this, but I have a family to care for and worry about. So the author says कि नहीं गलत बात है. Frank क्या है भाई? Frank remains steadfast in his refusal to wear a mask or to take the vaccine. Now this makes it very clear. He says he's probably had COVID and overcome it already. Tough like former president, he reverse. Okay. So he's a supporter of Trump. Well, again, you're not supposed to know that he's a supporter of Trump because the passage does not mention who the former president is. So a very strict rule would be that you will never, ever utilize your own knowledge. Okay. I hope Frank stays well. So the author is still of the opinion, even though Frank is not actually, Frank's views are not aligning with that of authors. He's of the opinion that, okay, even in COVID we should be allowed to go out. The author in the end hopes well for Frank. Okay, for masks and vaccine acknowledge something he won't: the truth of our vulnerability, our capacity to wound and be wounded by others. I don't know when Frank and I will talk again, but we remain exposed to each other's whims and disdains. One way or another, we will have to figure out what do we have to do with each other's company. Is the passage clear to all of you? Yes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now see how important this thing was. Now let's come to the first question. You will understand instantly what I was telling you about. How best would the reader describe Frank? Okay. Now let's go through the options. He's against the sciences. He's against immigrants. He's a baseball fan. He's against vaccine use and poses a threat to public health by his refusal to take COVID-19 vaccines. Now you see, you very well know what kind of a person, what kind of ideology Frank had. So you can easily answer this question. Quickly answer. But shoot your answers, guys. Like, it should be a cakewalk for you right now. Why are you taking so long? Just 3 of you have answered. Okay. I don't like this. Well, let's see. See, now he is against immigrants. Immigrants की तो बात ही नहीं की गई है. ठीक है? तो ये हटा दो. He is a baseball fan. ये तो मतलब I don't think ये कहीं भी था जो author ने कुछ ध्यान दिया हो. तो these two options are easily eliminated. Okay. Now we have A and D. Now, if we read D, it says he's against vaccine use and poses a threat to public health by his referral to take COVID-19 vaccine. Okay? Cool. This sounds pretty sorted to me. It's a very good answer. Now, let's read A. He's against the sciences. Okay. Now, again, this at first instance, it does sound good. However, the key to eliminate this answer here is the generic nature of this. Now it says the sciences, which means that all possible forms of science, कुछ भी scientific है, so उसके against है Frank. Whereas in the entire passage, you will only be able to infer about Frank's opinion and attitudes towards COVID-19 and whatever, whatever risk mitigation mechanism we are supposed to take, follow while just basically trying to avoid COVID-19. So these sciences, it's a very big thing. It includes everything like motorcycle. That is also science ke under, research and development based other drugs. Suppose a drug about something else, a drug about tuberculosis. So these sciences is a very broad term, it includes everything which is based on science, and that is not what you can infer from the passage. Whenever you'll get a very generic term, that is usually not the answer. Again, keyword here is usually. Okay, तो ये भी eliminate कर दो and you're left with D. So D would be the right answer. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Quickly, thumbs up, please. We'll move forward. All right, all right. Now try to answer the second one yourself. What does the author mean by we'll have to figure out what to do with each other's company? Okay, the author wants, okay, I'll read the options. The author wants to end his friendship with Frank. All right. The author wants to extend a hand of friendship to Frank despite their difficult relationship. The author is not trying to understand Frank's perspective. The author is sure that Frank's perspective is wrong and yet wants to extend a human empathy to him. See, understand. When you were reading this last passage, you come, okay, what happens here is, see, I wish I could have done this, but I have a family of my own to take care and worry about. Franks remains steadfast in his refusal to wear a mask or to take the vaccine. He's probably had COVID-19, blah, 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 blah. I hope Frank stays well. Okay. So the author is of the opinion that he is hoping Frank stays well. For mask and vaccine, acknowledge something he won't. So he will not agree to COVID-19 ka whatever things are there. Okay. The truth of our vulnerability, our capacity to wound and be wounded by others. So he's saying ki France will never accept. France keh raha. Frank will not accept whatever COVID related implications we are supposed to have. Yet he hopes well for Frank. I don't know when Frank and I will talk again, but we remain exposed to each other's whims and disdains. One day, way or another, we'll have to figure out what to do with each other's company. So he's still, thoda bahut empathic towards Frank. Now you'll see the author does not want to end his friendship with Frank. That is the key word here. Okay, that is a very extreme version. If that is what the author would have meant, he would have never said something like this. Okay, he's still wishing well. All right, then the author wants to extend a hand of friendship. They already are friends, so I don't think there can be an extension of a hand. The author is not trying to understand Frank's perspective. Now one may argue that this could also be the answer, but you need to figure out the meaning of this term. We'll have to figure out what to do with each other's company. Okay, it's not about uh acceptance or refusal. Lastly, the author is sure that Frank's perspective is wrong concerning to COVID-19 and yet wants to extend a human empathy to him. So this would encompass everything, and this is the right answer. All right, clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's move to the third question. What do you think Frank meant by the comment? Freedom is more important to me. Okay. Freedom is more important to me. Now, when we were reading this, we very much, while reading the passage itself. So, again, when we started with the question, while reading the passage itself, we had some idea that, okay, freedom kya bol sakta hai yahan pe. So, now quickly answer me.
Sir,
Yes.
so the answer of number 1 and 2 is D. Both are D, right?
Yeah, iska D hai. Yes. Yes. Both are D.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I'll just highlight this. Okay, now answer me third one. Answer me the third one. Come on. Okay. Very Good responses I'm receiving. Interesting. Okay, let me check. He was going to war to free the world of COVID-19. अब देखो कोई वॉर में नहीं जा रहा था. His opinion was not that कि okay, now I'm going to stop everyone from following COVID-19 protocols. He was not of the opinion that okay, the author should also do this. The author should fight with him. He was of the opinion that I should not be restricted to do this. Okay. Then he was planning to engage in a public health related na kabhi nahi. Never, like you will never find something like this in the passage. I mean, not well, but you didn't find anything. His personal freedom to do and act according to his own was the least important thing in his life. Again, incorrect. He gave it supremacy. He was willing to put his health at risk to protect his personal freedom. A very well said, well put line, which thoroughly comprises whatever his opinion was, that freedom मेरे लिए ज़्यादा important है. I don't care if you have a virus like COVID-19, which may have, which may pose a threat to my life. No, freedom is more important to me. So that is what this line is supposed to mean. And again, option D is the correct answer. Let's move forward. Pick the word that best describes Fang behavior. Okay, very good question because of the options. Reckless, lackadaisical, arrogant, delusional. Now, अब तुम इसमें तो थोड़ा confuse हो गए. This was a slightly confusing question. All right, so let's see. Now, let's start with A. A sounds decent to me. His behavior was reckless. Okay, he was never of the opinion, कि मेरे को रोको मत. I'm reckless. Let me do what I want to do. Let me be free. This term basically means very lazy, like do not have a lackadaisical approach towards CLAT. Do not be lazy about something. Now, the person Frank was never lazy. He wanted freedom, okay? He was never lazy. Arrogance. Now, okay, so this may sound like an answer to you. However, he was not arrogant. So at a point you will feel like he was, but he was not arrogant. He did put up his point, that listen, ठीक है, there is a medical threat to me. I don't care. What I feel like is that my freedom should be given supremacy over my medical condition or something like that. Okay. So I am reasoning with you that freedom should be given utmost important. That was his saying. He could be arrogant, but again, he was not giving baseless statements. He gave an argument to his statement that he get a idea rational that I want my freedom over than anything, more than anything. Delusional ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. He was not deluded. He was of clearly having an opinion. He did clearly have an opinion. So the answer would be reckless, because उसको फर्क नहीं पड़ता था. He is reckless. ठीक है, उसको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता क्या हो रहा है, होने दो. I don't care medically क्या होगा. No issues. Clear है? वो कैप बेस्ड क्वेश्चन था. This was a good question. I would say it was moderate, and ऊपर के जो तीन थे, all of them were easy. Okay, all of them were easy. Clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
I'm moving forward. Okay. Now, last question. Why do you think the author stopped engaging with Frank's arguments? Okay, a very good question, an interesting one. The author was angry. Okay, so this question is completely there in the last paragraph. Okay, in the last paragraph, author बिल्कुल थक मार के हार चुका है. He has lost it. He doesn't want to argue anymore. He just hopes well for Frank and he's done. He was never angry. Okay, anger तो आया ही नहीं उसके अंदर. He's still wishing well for Frank. Okay, the author felt defeated. The author was not defeated. The author was of the opinion that this is pointless. Okay, this is pointless. I am going to follow COVID-19 protocols. If Frank doesn't want to, let him be. I will follow my rules, whatever rules and regulations are there. So I'm not defeated. The author was disappointed. Yes, he knew, right? He's of the opinion that Frank is very well aware of the risks which are related to COVID-19, yet the person wants, freedom. He wants to go out or something like that. He wants liberty. And such a liberty, not getting vaccinated, it may cause, harm to others also because they may spread it. So he was disappointed. He was disappointed. And that would be your answer. Is that clear? Is that clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Cool, cool, cool. Dekho, I would say you guys can expect 5 passages of this section. Okay. And most probably they will have 5 questions each. And in the end, wale mein 4 or 6 questions ho sakte hain. Okay. Okay. While reading English ka passage, you do try to understand what is the main idea of the author. Now, that this advice which I'm giving you, I'll explain further to this while we will be solving the CR section. But English may be, once you've started reading the passage, make sure that you have some idea about what the main stance of the author is. Now, suppose I'm asking you, there's a question, what is the main idea of the author? Can anyone answer that question? Or suppose ये तो narrative passage है, तो I would say, what is the crux of this passage? If in one sentence you have to summarize the passage, what it would be? Think about it. I'm giving you time also. Think about it. जब भी मन करे chat box में लिख देना. I will not wait for it. Okay. Time थोड़ा कम है. We have to discuss some topics also. We'll start with the basics of G20 today. Okay. Cool. And अब देखो English में vocab कर लेना. ठीक है. Inference based questions आएंगे vocab के most probably 90% chance है. But still, if you very well know the meaning of that term, that is a sure shot marks for you. Okay. vocab कर लेना. एक बार पहले क्वेश्चंस पढ़ के पैसेज रीड करके भी 2-3 मॉक्स ट्राई कर लो. With this strategy, if it works out well for you all, then you may stick to it. Otherwise, you may revert back to whatever strategy which was working for you. Give at least 3 shots to this one. Okay, it's fruitful because now you need to work on your accuracy. That is very much important here. All right. So this is all for English section. And I would say while reading, you can leave, English में तो कुछ नहीं. English में तो facts पे question बनते हैं. When I say facts पे question, I basically mean that whatever facts are stated in the passage, उसी के ऊपर question होगा. Hardly they have an inference based question or something like that, So understand, Frank को describe करो. Then what is the probable meaning of this line? What is the probable meaning of this line? So there's nothing, depth wala here. Okay, I've received 1. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it, Tanisha. Very well done. Yes, Benito, that is काफी short, but it should work. I mean, you have the idea. चलो कोई ना. Clear है? आगे बढ़े फटाक से. Let's do CR also and then let's
Yes,
share.
sir.
Okay. अब critical reasoning पे आते हैं. अब देखो यहाँ पे concepts comes into picture. Okay. English में fact based. So again, a lot of students ask me, said, what is the actual difference between now once again a big caveat. For the very first time, they have termed this as critical reasoning. इससे पहले they used to call this section logical reasoning. And कभी भी उसमें logical reasoning के questions नहीं होते थे. You never had, so post the, post the 2019 CLAT, after the pattern change, you never had AR question, you reasoning के question नहीं थे. You never had, say, find the odd one out, syllogism or something like that. This time they've named it. They've given it a name of critical reasoning, which is similar to the GMAT critical wala, verbal wala section. So अब 99.99% है, मेरे तरफ से तो 100% है कि आपको AR नहीं पूछा जाएगा. ठीक है. Yet if you I'm not asking you to leave AR completely, but now that they've named this section critical reasoning, there's a very good chance that it will all be CR, just like how it has been 2020 एडिशन से. ठीक है, इस एडिशन से आज तक एक भी उन्होंने AR बेस्ड क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा है. मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली आपके साथ भी ऐसा ही होगा, नाउ दैट दे हैव ऑफिशियली नेम्ड इट क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग. अब English and CR में there's this one slight distinction in your mocks. While you're solving mocks, you would see that there's a stark distinction between these two sections. Stark distinction. But when you will actually solve CLAT ka paper, like last year's CLAT, logic was extremely easy. Last year's CLAT logic was extremely easy. In 2021 CLAT, one of my friends, she solved 29 questions in logic and she got all of them correct. I think 28 of them correct or 29 of them correct. It is one of the easiest section to score, and in your mocks you would be doing really, really bad in this section. Now I am of the opinion that mocks mein bahut acha to CR nahi ja raha hoga. That is how your mocks are. But this is one of the sections jahan pe aapko almost full score करने का एम करना चाहिए. इंग्लिश और लॉजिक में डिफरेंस क्या है? यहाँ पे कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं. देखो, अगर हम इंग्लिश वाले क्वेश्चंस पढ़ेंगे तो वहां पे फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चंस हैं कि डिस्क्राइब फ्रैंक, व्हाट इज दिस लाइन सपोज टू मीन, ओके, व्हाट इज दिस लाइन सपोज टू मीन, व्हिच वर्ड डिस्क्राइब्स फ्रैंक्स बिहेवियर. सो दीज आर ऑल फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चंस जो इस पैसेज के फैक्ट्स में से निकलते हैं. यहाँ पे क्या आएगा? दे विल टेस्ट यू ऑन योर reasoning skills. Okay, what are your reasoning skills? So suppose, what are your argumentative skills? Your father says that you are not a good child, you are not, so your father says that you've received like a B plus in say physics, you're not a studious child. Then you can weaken this argument by saying that my aggregate GPA is 9.8, I've received an A plus in all of them. How can you say that on just on the basis of one subject? So here you're applying your reasoning. You're giving a logic to your answer. There's a logic to my statement which I'm saying. It's not a factual statement. आप इस passage की किसी facts में से नहीं निकालोगे. You will figure out a logical connection and then you will answer it. That is the only thin line ka difference between these two sections. So I hope you guys are very well clear with the concepts by now. You know what strengthening is supposed to mean, what paradoxes are, how do you weaken a statement. So that's not something I'm going to discuss more upon. Length same as last year. Last year bhi lengthy tha paper. This is काफी lengthy for a CR section का passage, yet it is extremely easy. I mean extremely easy. Okay, extremely easy. Now again, one of the one advice I have always given to anyone while reading anything, newspaper editorial, anything, always make a habit that you will try to gauge what is the main idea of the author, what is the crux of the passage, how can you weaken the stance of the author, how can you strengthen the stance of the author. If not weaken, strengthen, but at least try to understand what is the crux of the author while reading anything. Make it a habit of yours. If you haven't already, make it a habit of yours that कुछ भी पढ़ते time, okay, whatever I'm reading, even a newspaper article or something, I will try to make sure, okay, what is the crux of this passage in its entirety. That will help you solve this section. It will make it a cakewalk for you, okay? You can fast read facts here. Okay, you can fast read facts here. When I say fast read facts, I mean, so कुछ lines को you can skip. I mean not skip, you can read आराम से, बहुत fast way में. Just try to understand कि you are able to gauge the, rational, the thinking of the author. Bas, that's all. I will tell you when we'll come to the question. चलो बाकी का मैं overall view मैं तुम्हें बाद में देता हूँ. Now, one last thing. In CR section, it be always like that you are easily able to eliminate two options and you're left with two, and them are slightly confusing. Okay, they are slightly confusing, misleading options. Now, this is where the game actually begins, and you have to learn the art of filtering out the right answer. How you're supposed to do that? Practice, 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 and practice. That's all. Okay. Cool. Lastly, again, the same caveat which is there for each and every section, that do not use your own understanding or knowledge. Okay. You will see that CR का जितना भी पैसेज आपके एग्जाम में आएगा, you will have some idea about it, because usually newspaper articles में से ही उठा के they will ask. Okay. So you will be having an understanding on the topic. Space से देखना बहुत कुछ आएगा, politics से आ सकता है इस बार, you know, big things have happened and they will ask you a lot of things उस चीजों से. So you will have knowledge, but don't apply that knowledge. Okay. Don't apply whatever you have read on this. Cool. Let's see the questions. Have you read the passage? You guys have read the passage?
Yes, sir.
May I skip it? Or should I give you like, chalo, I'll give you 3 minutes to read the passage, okay? और छोड़ो, I'll teach you myself how to read a passage. ठीक है? अब देखो, इसमें ये नहीं करूंगा मैं कि जाके ये पढ़ रहा हूं, because मेरे को पता है questions कैसे frame होंगे. See, the reason why I asked you to read the questions first in English is because there are factual questions. There will be lines जिनकी meaning तुम्हें निकालनी पड़ेगी. यहाँ पे in CR section, you very well know what kinds of question they're gonna ask you. You know, they will probably ask you what is the main idea, what is the paradox here. You know, how we can strengthen, how can we can weaken, what can be inferred from the passage. You very well know that इस type के questions ही आएंगे. तो ऐसा कोई एक लाइन को लेके मेरे को नहीं रुकना है. You know, I need to read the passage and understand it in its entirety. That is what the game is here. So I will directly start with the passage here. Okay, I'll go through it. So our external affairs minister, Mr. Jaishankar, rejected suggestions from the West that India's purchases of Russian oil is helping fund the war in Ukraine. New Delhi is saying that it is only working to get the best deal for its citizens and in between intense volatility in the global energy markets. He noted that European countries have been included carve-outs in sanctions imposed on Russia that allow them to access Russian gas. ठीक है? तो अभी तक हमें क्या पता चला कि भाई जयशंकर साहब इज ऑफ द ओपिनियन कि हम जो कर रहे हैं वो हमारे सिटीजन्स के लिए बढ़िया है, और ये हिपोक्रेसी है यूरोपियन कंट्रीज की. सो यू वेरी वेल नो अबाउट दिस, यू नो, यू वेरी वेल नो अबाउट दिस थिंग. आपने पढ़ा होगा इसके बारे में. He is citing the hypocrisy of the European countries, which themselves has tried figured out a way, a mechanism that Russia से वो Russian gas ले रहे हैं without sanctions. Okay. Again, Mr. Jashankar says that I don't want to sound argumentative, but then tell me if buying Russian gas is not funding the war. It's only Indian money and oil coming to India which funds the war, but it's not the gas coming to Europe which funds it. So, itna padke, I have a fairly decent understanding in my head that Mr. Jaishankar is trying to defend India's stance concerning the war. Okay, defend India's stance concerning the war, for which he has cited this key. European countries themselves are importing a lot of products, natural gas from Russia, which is giving Russia काफी ज़्यादा money. Okay, let's read further. Russian crude flows to India were set to touch a 3.36 million tons in May, which is nearly 9 times higher than 2021 monthly average of 382,500 tons. India has procured 4.8 million tons of discounted Russian oil since the Ukraine war began in Feb. So this is news again. Jaishankar said the narrative about the volume of purchases increasing 9 times should factor in the fact that was from a very low base at a time when markets were more open. Okay, so यहाँ पे again, he is again defending India. He's rebutting this argument. What is the argument? The argument mean कि भाई जो नंबर छप रहा है न्यूज़पेपर साइट पे कि इंडिया का क्रूड ऑयल इंपोर्ट रशिया से 9 टाइम्स बढ़ गया, दिस इज नॉट अ स्ट्रॉन्ग आर्ग्यूमेंट, बिकॉज ये ऐसा कुछ है कि 1 लीटर से पहले हम 1 लीटर इंपोर्ट करते थे, ठीक है, अब हम 9 लीटर इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. ठीक है. नाउ वी आर इंपोर्टिंग एन अमाउंट ऑफ 9 सॉरी okay. So he basically says कि earlier we were importing a very छोटा सा amount of oil and उसको हमने बढ़ा दिया है. ठीक है. तो लाइक 1 लीटर को बढ़ा के 9 लीटर कर दिया. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि we are importing a lot of oil from Russia. The base point itself, the base point itself was very low. So again, what he's doing, he's defending India's stance towards Russia. Again, he further continues, if countries in Europe and the West and the US are so concerned, why don't they allow Iranian and Venezuelan oil to come into the market? They have squeezed every other source of oil we have and then say, okay, guys, you must not go into the market and get the best deal for your people. I don't think that's a very fair approach. What is he doing again? Can anyone tell me? Quickly, use your brain.
Sir, defending.
Yeah, he's basically defending India's stance again. So, itna padh ke hi, if you were looking for the main stance of the, crux of the passage, you would have got it by now that, okay, Jaishankar is trying to defend India's stance, for which he's citing several examples. That's all. ये तुम्हें बिल्कुल crux में पता चल गया. Now quickly read through it. So Jaishankar noted that European countries were continuing to buy Russian oil and gas, and the latest package of sanctions include a carve-out for pipelines and timelines reducing energy imports. Again, he pointed out the European hypocrisy again. If European states manage energy deals in a way that the impact on their economy is not traumatic, that freedom or choice should exist for other people as well. So he basically says that if they can choose what is good for their economy and choose not to sanction Russia in terms of gas imports, which is benefiting them, then other countries should also be allowed to do the same. India is only buying the best oil in the market. ठीक है, जो cheapest oil है, that is what we are purchasing. No political messaging should be attached to this. Lastly, asked about India's ban on wheat exports. So Mr. Jaishankar was again asked about India's ban on wheat exports. He said that this was done to prevent speculation. Now again, यहाँ से passage takes a new turn. Okay, the passage takes a new turn. Now the main commodity is wheat export. The main point is wheat export. अब यहाँ पे कुछ इंडिया और रशिया का सीन नहीं आ रहा. दिस अ न्यू थिंग. सो यहाँ से यू हैव टू बी मोर केयरफुल. ऐसा नहीं कि यू स्किप दिस या रीड इट फास्ट. लेट्स सी. He said this was done to prevent speculation by international traders in centers such as Singapore and Dubai. India remained committed to providing wheat to developing countries that have a genuine need for food grains. Okay. So what he's saying, he was asked again a question ki, sir, how would you defend the stance of India which is about banning wheat exports? तो भाई ये कहते हैं कि हम प्रिवेंट करना चाह रहे हैं स्पेकुलेशन बाय इंटरनेशनल ट्रेडर्स. ठीक है. सो वी रिमेन कमिटेड to providing wheat to developing countries that have a genuine need for food grains. Okay, so we are ready to give it to the needy ones, but not to those who are using it for their financial gain, for not for international traders. So यहाँ पे इनका इस पैसेज का क्रक्स ये है कि इंडिया वीट एक्सपोर्ट जो कर रहा है, जो बैन किया है एक्सपोर्ट पे, इट बेसिकली is not against the needy ones. We are still committed to provide them food grains if they are in need of it. It is only for international traders. देखो लिखा है, India has usually exported 2 to 3 million tons of wheat a year. He again cites an example, and the figure touched 7 million tons last year before this year's heat wave affected crops very badly. Again cites an example why we are banning it. And New Delhi acted to prevent the diversion of wheat to high income countries. Again he is saying कि भाई wheat कहाँ ना जाए to high income countries. ठीक है. As happened in the case of COVID-19 vaccine, it should, if you are a needy country, it should go to you. It is only to restrict the export to high income countries. So in a nutshell, he is just defending India's stance by citing several examples. That is the main idea. Clear है?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's try the first question. Which of the following arguments is most like the argument put forward by S. Jaishankar in the passage above as regards India's purchase of oil from Russia? देखो बहुत easy है. Question क्या कह रहा है वो पढ़ो पहले. Which of the argument is most like the argument? He's asking something which is on the similar lines with that of Jaishankar's argument. Okay, which is about India's purchase of oil from Russia. So we very well know what is his argument. Okay, can anyone answer this? Look, let me read this options for you. It is acceptable for India to trade with a country only if it does not engage in war. ये तो बिल्कुल against है India stance के. ठीक है, we are trading with Russia. India should not trade with any country but should instead aim to be completely self-reliant. Nowhere this has been mentioned in the passage. Self-reliancy की बात ही नहीं की गई है. It is acceptable for India to trade with a country that engages in wars if other nations also trade with that country. Okay. Okay, let's leave this for now. Let's go with the last one. India should not trade with a country that engages in wars, even if other nations continue to trade with this country. A very easy answer is in front of you. Quickly shoot the answer. I don't think I need to even discuss this. Shoot, 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 shoot. Fast. What are you waiting for? 34 of you are here. Good. C is the right answer. All of you are correct. Because देखो passage पढ़ते time ही we had an understanding that India का जो stance है, it is based on several citation examples which were put forth by Jaishankar, and in one of the examples he said that Europe is doing the same thing. That why are you asking us? So it is also acceptable for us to trade with a country that engages in war, Russia, because other nations like European nations are also trading with the country. Fourth one goes completely against it and can easily be eliminated. Option C is the right answer. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let's go to the second question. Okay. Which of the following is Jaishankar most likely to agree with? Okay. Regardless of how much oil India imported from Russia in the past, okay, the fact that its imports have increased 9 times is shock. अरे ये क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं? एक सेकेंड, इसको क्यों हाईलाइट कर रहा हूँ यार? ठीक है, तो बोलता है भाई कि कितना भी हमने इंपोर्ट किया पहले, अभी हमने जो 9 टाइम्स कर लिया इज शॉकिंग एंड अनएक्सेप्टेबल. अगेन फैक्चुअली ही गलत है. व्हाट आर वी सपोज टू टेल देम? An argument which Jaishankar is most likely to agree with. He is supporting India's stance. He has basically said कि जो 9 times increase है, it is from a very lower base point. अब आप 1 लीटर को 9 लीटर कर दोगे तो इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी है कि कोई कंट्री अगर 20 लीटर उठा रही है, उसने 22 लीटर ही उठाया, which is not even 2 times का growth. That doesn't mean that we are the culprit here. They should be the culprit here, right? That was his argument. That's what he put. But ये थोड़ी है, he's completely against this. Then one should not place too much emphasis on the fact that India's import of Russian crude has multiplied 9 times. India imported a very small volume of Russia or oil from Russia in the past. Exactly what his line is. Okay, so let's just read further. The fact that India's import of Russian crude has multiplied 9 times is particularly shocking. He is against of this idea that this fact should be shocking. No, यहीं पे eliminate हो गया. The manifold increase in India's imports of Russian crude are justified since other countries have also increased their imports. No. This is a confusing option. That's not what he said. Okay. This logic, this reasoning was given. Why are you even importing oil? Why are you even importing oil? It was not about the quantity of the oil. For the quantity wala thing, that okay, your imports have increased significantly, 9 times to be precise. For that, he gave the rationale, the reasoning that okay, the base point from which we started was very low. That is why the increase looks so significant in terms of absolute numbers. Okay? No, in terms of folds, multiple folds. So option B would be the right answer. Very easy question. Okay, I hope you guys have marked the same. Let me check.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Let's go to 4.C then. Okay, let me check. Which of the following, if true, would most weaken Jayashankar's argument in the passage above? Now, let me test your reasoning skills. Would anyone like to weaken Jayashankar's stance? Anything. Just try to weaken his stance without reading. Like, tell me anything. How can you weaken his stance? Let me check your reasoning. Anyone? Quickly. Come on, try. What are you afraid of? You can unmute also if you want to. If he starts supporting Europe. How would you say that, Nandini? No, that would, like, you're asking Jayashankar to do something. I'm asking you to nullify his stance. Okay, his stance basically is defending India's stance, वो उनका argument है. For that, he has given several arguments, like हमने import बहुत किया ऐसा, something like that. Okay, yes, that is correct, Surya. That is very well. So Surya says India is exporting wheat only to developing countries. ठीक है नहीं मतलब how is that weakening his stance? Had it been developed countries, then शायद होता, yes. Not developing, but developed, maybe. Come on, guys, try to weaken. It's very easy. See what he said. कि ठीक है, Europe करता था. Europe also imports. Yeah, someone saying. Yes. Anvesh, you were saying something?
No, sir.
Okay, so Nivedita has one. She says Western nations, यहाँ पे अब यूरोपियन कंट्रीज लिखते तो ज्यादा बेटर होता, बट ठीक है, वेस्ट भी उन्होंने बोला था, गुड. हैव बैन ट्रेड विद रशिया. यहाँ पे हाँ मतलब put something like this, right? As she mentioned that, okay, European nations, they do not trade with Russia in its entirety, or something like, okay, India's import. So what is this question saying? Which of the following, if true? Okay, which of the following, if true? It doesn't say that whether it's true or not. It's saying कि भाई कुछ भी बोल दो जो सच हो, ठीक है, कुछ भी बोल दो जो सच हो, जो weaken कर ले. That's all you have to do. So figure out anything which will weaken his stance. Let's read. All Western nations, including those in Europe and the US, have banned imports of Russian oil and gas completely. A very apt negation of his arguments that India can still import just because Europe is importing, the West is importing. But it says that they have banned imports of Russian oil as well as gas completely. Okay, so what is this doing? It is completely negating the stance of Mr. Jaishankar. Nonetheless, we'll read further. All Western nations, including those in Europe, continue to provide funds to Russia. Again, pura galat hai. That is where he's basing his, argument. You're also buying, so you're also providing funds to Russia. So this is actually strengthening his stance. Okay? Western nations continue to import oil and gas from Russia since they do not have any other source from which they can source oil and gas. ठीक है, ये क्या बोल रहे हैं? ये बात तो हम भी कह सकते हैं ना भैया. वेस्टर्न नेशंस कंटिन्यू टू इंपोर्ट. यही बात तो जयशंकर कह रहे हैं. He's also saying the same thing. Listen, bhai, India do not have any other option. You've banned exports from Iran and Venezuela. So we don't have any other option. So again, strengthening his stance. तो हमें weaken करना है, गलत हो गया. D. All Western nations, including those in Europe and the US, are making strong efforts to develop sources of renewable energy production. अब देखो, this may, like, it shouldn't have, because A is it's a very apt answer, but it may confuse you. अब देखो, ये बहुत जनरल स्टेटमेंट है, ठीक है, कि क्या कर रहे हैं ये, दे आर मेकिंग स्ट्रॉन्ग एफर्ट्स टू डेवलप सोर्सेज ऑफ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी. दैट डजंट मीन कि they are not importing oil from, gas from Russia, or they will stop doing so. It doesn't say anything like that. It's a very generic thing, generic statement. कभी भी apply हो सकती है. It is not compulsory कि the day they increase their renewable energy production, they will stop importing gas from Russia. It doesn't say anything like that. So you can't answer this. A would be your right answer. Is this clear? Is this clear, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Fourth question, let's see. On which of the following assumptions do Jaishankar's argument about India's ban on weak exports depend? ठीक है? Easy question है. Try to answer yourself. And why is only few of you answering? I only see Nivedita. There are 35 of us here, including me. I'm answering. You're also supposed to answer. What is this?
So could you please scroll it a little up towards the passive ones?
Okay. Going back to the question. Yeah, how many of you are 2024 CLAT takers? Raise your hands. Those will be taking this year. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. I have received 13 responses. I would want all of you to answer in the chat box. All 13 of you. I'll start name calling after this. I'm giving leeway to 25 students. They should also answer because clearly I explained everything. Please refrain from doing all of this. Yaar. Come on. What are you, kids or something or what? Huh? Do you think this will actually hurt me or something? You know, I'm a very grown up person in terms of these things. I used to sit right where you're sitting.
सर कोई और है वो सर.
Acha, he used your name or something.
Yes sir.
Okay. चलो ठीक है. अच्छा हुआ तुमने क्लैरिफाई कर दिया. वैसे मैं कोई एक्शन वैक्शन नहीं लेने वाला हूँ उसका भी. मुझे
नहीं
बस
सर पर मैं लेने वाला हूँ ना, आने दीजिए सर कोलकाता मेरे को.
नहीं नहीं बस शांत हो जाओ, शांत हो जाओ. डोंट डू सच थिंग्स. फोकस ऑन एग्जाम भाई. बहुत बुरी स्थिति है. ठीक है, ध्यान दो तुम लोग. चलो लेट्स ट्राई टू आंसर. ओके. हाई इनकम कंट्रीज डू नॉट नीड इंडियन वीट एक्सपोर्ट्स. ठीक है भाई, ये बात तो खत्म ही कर दे रही है उनका आर्ग्यूमेंट. ठीक है, दिस इज कंप्लीट. सो in terms of wheat exports, what he has said is that ki listen, we are actually banning wheat exports because we are of the opinion ki हमारे exports traders को जा रहे हैं, international traders को जा रहे हैं. Okay, international traders को जा रहे हैं, but not to the needy ones. ठीक है, हाई इनकम कंट्रीज को नहीं भेजना चाहते. वी विल स्टिल एक्सपोर्ट टू द नीडी कंट्रीज, नीडफुल कंट्रीज. तो अगर ऐसा बोला जा रहा है कि इंडिया do not you're not supposed, like, the high income countries are not even importing your wheats, then this is a very good weakening of Jaishankar's argument. ठीक है, take this in mind. इस क्वेश्चन को आप ऐसे भी फ्रेम कर सकते थे, how would you weaken his stance? So this would have been a good weakening statement. Then a lot of you have answered B, so let's read B first. Okay, that international traders in centers such as Singapore and Dubai prevent Indian wheat exports from reaching developing countries that need them. A very good answer. All of you are absolutely correct. That's what my take is. Let's still just read further. That in अच्छा same to same बात बोलिए. Divert supplies of Indian wheat to developing countries that most need food grains. Okay, that most need food grains. Again, this is weakening his stance. This is weakening his stance. His stance basically is कि जो हमारा ban है, it is still good for the needful countries. If you are needy of wheat, we will somehow give you. But we are banning it for international traders. But the statement says that these traders themselves diverted such supplies of Indian wheat to needful countries. So this is again weakening his stance. So ये answer नहीं हो सकता because you have to find something which is about you have to find an assumption based on his arguments, on which he has based his arguments. ठीक है? That Indians ban on wheat exports is justified because Western countries अरे यार ये देखो, ये दोनों बिल्कुल अलग बात थी. ऑयल का व्हीट के साथ कोई रिलेशन बनाया ही नहीं है, तो ये भी गलत है. बी इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट कि ठीक है भाई, हम क्या चाह रहे हैं, वी डोंट वांट टू सेल इट टू big traders which are there in Singapore and Dubai, but rather we want to give it to developing countries that need them. That is why we have banned the export. Clear है?
Yes, sir.
चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. 4.5. Jaishankar's argument supporting India's ban on wheat exports is most vulnerable to criticism on which of the following grounds? ठीक है? Try to answer this. Again, be careful with what the question is asking you. So his arguments which support India's ban on export is most vulnerable to criticism. Question क्या कह रहा है? देखो, they've just rephrased a weakening का question to this. कि ठीक है, जो इनका argument है ना, through which he supporting India's wheat ban on wheat exports is vulnerable to criticism. On which of the grounds? Basically, which of the grounds weaken it? You already got 2 grounds इसी question में. ठीक है, तो अपना थोड़ा दिमाग लगाओ and try to answer. Some of you have answered C and D. Answer quickly. What's taking you so long? What's wrong with your speed? You don't have whole day. काफी ज्यादा deflecting replies हैं, बहुत सारी C's हैं. Can anyone tell me what is your logic behind C? Any of you? Talk to me, guys. Talk to me. So what? You just thought of answering C? No logic, nothing. You felt like C should be the answer. All right. This is disturbing. Let me read. Okay, so what it says is basically कि इंडिया के wheat bans का जो जयशंकर का argument है, इसको weaken कर दो. ठीक है? On some of the grounds, on any of the grounds.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go
Sir,
ahead.
I was saying that I was thinking C because it is kind of telling the downside about banning Indian wheat from the international traders.
Okay. Now, come on. Who is this kid?
So there's somebody who's coming again and again and doing nonsense.
Yeah.
Sir, we can log the meeting.
Yeah, I'll lock it right away. I'll lock it right away. God. Where's this option, man? एक तो I'm this technologically unsound now. I don't even know. You guys know how do we lock it? Something. Let me think. Ah. All right. ठीक है. Sorry. Someone was saying something. Could you please repeat? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about this. Could you please answer again? We are at 4.5, right? Yeah. So you guys have answered C. International traders provide better business terms to Indian wheat exporters and banning exports to them would hard the. देखो, your thoda bahut knowledge was rational, was right, but what is the statement? What does it say? What would it harm? This entire thing, it would harm interest of Indian wheat exporters. Did Jaishankar talk about Indian wheat exporters? Did he talk about them? Whom did he talk about? Needful countries, right? Needy countries. Then how come C
Yes,
is the right answer? No, C shouldn't be the right. Had it been which would harm the interest of needy countries, it would have been the apt choice. I would have given you that. But it says for wheat exporters, that is not mentioned here. A, what does A says? Preventing speculation by international traders prevents abnormal rises in the price of wheat. ये तो support कर रहा है उनका, ठीक है? International traders try to maximize wheat prices, which results in India's wheat exports reaching high income country. Again, if they maximize wheat prices, it will go against the needy countries. It will go against the needful countries. गलत है. Jaishankar is of the opinion that our step is benefiting the needy countries. Okay, though it is benefiting us also, the country of India also, but again, needy countries ke liye bhi hai. What does D says? Banning wheat exports results in Indian wheat not reaching international traders in Singapore and Delhi, Dubai, as well as developing countries that are most in need of food grains. Exactly the same thing, that if you are going to ban it, then you are not also, yeah, we agree that you will stop export to international traders in Singapore and Dubai, but again, जो needful countries हैं, developing countries that are most in need of food grains, उनके पास भी आपका product नहीं जाएगा. It completely nullifies this stance. So D would be the right answer. Easy question. Read very carefully when you're reading questions. ना read, see, I understand तुमको ये कहाँ से आया, but ये last line तो पढ़ो ना. It's about Indian wheat exporters. When you're solving, that's why you're supposed to take a lot of mocks, so that you know about these problems. कि क्या issue आता है, कैसा आता है, आपको पता होना चाहिए. ठीक है, देखो कितना easy था. एक छोटी सी लाइन आपने फास्ट रीडिंग में इसको मिस कर दिया. Let's go to the last question. If something like this would have come in your exam, so I would have skipped it for, say, I would have circled the question and then skipped it, because I think this itself is 200 words or something. So 250 words padna, it doesn't make utna sense in the beginning, though it's a very easy passage. So I will not wait for you to answer this, because bahut time chala jayega. Let me read. Which one of the following most accurately and comprehensively describes his arguments in support of India's imports of Russian oil? Okay. And his responses to suggestion that India's purchases of Russian oil is helping fund the war in Ukraine. So it's all about his arguments to oil, to oil imports. Quickly tell me, what were his arguments about oil imports? Quickly. Ekdam quickly tell me. Not nice, guys. Not nice. No. Yes, Benita, that other European countries are also importing Russian gas. And the last one being that since the base point itself was so low that jo 9 times ka growth dikh raha hai, that is not much. These were the two major arguments which he put forth. So let's read. He justifies India's imports of Russian oil on the grounds that Western nations continue to import Russian gas, and says that India is entitled to make such choices in the interest of protecting its economy. Since that was his reasoning, because since Western nations are also adopting policies that ensure the impact on their economy is not traumatic. Okay? However, he does not deny that the money from Indian imports of Russian oil may be used to fund Russia's war against Ukraine. ठीक है? Sounds like a very good answer to me. एक बार फटाफट देख लेते हैं. He justifies blah blah blah. India remained ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है. देखो यहाँ पे क्या आ गया, wheat exports की बात आ गई, food grain की. ठीक है, तो ये खत्म, इससे हमें लेना देना नहीं है. Question talks about what? India's purchase of Russian oil. So this is incorrect. यहाँ क्या है, he justifies India's imports of Russian oils on the ground that Western nations continue to import. सेम बात लिखी है. India is entitled since, ठीक है, यहाँ तक तो ये सही लग रहा है पढ़ने में. Further, he says that since India and Western countries continue to make foreign policy decisions as they think fit, Russia should also be able to make such decisions, including to decision to wage a war in Ukraine. यहाँ से लिखो, ये गलत हो गया. Nowhere it talks about कि Russia should also be allowed to make a decision to wage war in Ukraine, something like that. This is something new. It was never in the passage, neither it can be inferred from the passage. So this is how C is eliminated. D, he argues that while Russian crude oil exports to India were set to touch itna in May, which is nearly 9 times higher, ठीक है, this increase is from a low base point and therefore not as dramatic as it is being made out by some people. Again, A and D थोड़े confusing हो सकते थे. ये शिल्पा, I will send the PDF, don't worry. A and D थोड़े confusing हो सकते थे, ठीक है, but यहाँ पे पूछा क्या है कि उनका आर्ग्यूमेंट क्या था इन टर्म्स ऑफ इंडियाज परचेज ऑफ रशियन ऑयल. सो ये वाला जो काउंटर आर्ग्यूमेंट है ना, ये बेस पॉइंट वाला, इट इज अबाउट दैट आवर इंपोर्ट्स हैव नॉट इंक्रीज्ड सिग्निफिकेंटली. ओके, यहाँ पे ये जो आर्ग्यूमेंट है दैट वी आर इंपोर्टिंग and you cannot say anything to us because you are also doing the same thing. That is a better choice. Okay, that is a better choice. So option A would be the correct answer. Clear hai?
Yes, sir.
Everything, all of it?
Yes, sir.
Good. Any questions you guys have?
No, sir.
Anyone else? All clear? We may move forward.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have one question.
Yes, please ask.
Sir, how to read as well as understand the same thing faster, like the pace of understanding faster?
Tanisha, the right answer was A for the last question. Okay, now to answer your question, Surya. See, fast reading is a skill, okay? And like there are no short tricks to it, not that I know of. It basically, two big things. One, if you know the context well, you would be able to fast read. So now if I'll give you a passage on companies law, something which has a lot of equity, preferential share, then this allotment, these complicated words, you would not be able to fast read that passage. But since you know so much about climate change, how carbon emissions are impacting our planet, then if you'll get a passage in the examination on climate change, you will have a fair decent understanding, because आपको पता है उन terms का क्या मतलब होता है. You would be able to go through the passage at a very faster pace. So that is one thing if you have context about the passage. Now this is something which is very much applicable in the CR section, because अब देखो ये जो न्यूज है ना, ये बहुत लोगों ने पढ़ी होगी, ठीक है, बहुत लोगों ने पढ़ी होगी ये पूरी न्यूज, कभी ना कभी सुना होगा तुम लोगों ने, ठीक है, नहीं सुना तो कोई बात नहीं. So those who have read this news, for them this passage would have been very easy to read, and this is what's going to happen in your CLAT examination, because they will ask you passages from contemporary issues only. Okay, at least in CR section majorly जो newspapers में होता है वही आता है. So if you know the passage, if you have context, you would be able to read fast. And the second thing is you basically read a lot. You just try to attain the skill of comprehending fast. That's all. That all you can do. Fast
What
reading.
is happening with me is that when I'm giving the mock, I can read fast, but when I'm going to attempt the question, so when I'm going to question section, it is becoming like so difficult to understand the options, and I'm getting confused with the options.
Okay, so
and this is making me losing time and taking me too much time to complete the paper, and less attempts are happening for this reason.
okay, I understand. See, for English, had you while taking the mocks, were you reading the questions first and then going to the passage, or you started with the passage?
Like read the questions first.
Okay, so listen, once you are reading now, you again, it's a very generic advice which I'll give you. I'm telling you, no one can give you a sure short answer to this question, and at least no one I know of. Majorly यही है कि while reading itself, you should be thorough with the crux of the passage. At least in critical reasoning, though, you should understand what is the main idea of the passage. You should know what can be inferred from the passage and what not. Your understanding of the passage should be done while reading the passage itself. If you're not able to do that, you would not be able to answer the questions. Okay. So going to the questions, solving them is secondary until and unless you know the passage. Again, next thing, आपकी मॉक्स में दिक्कत आ रही है. Well, honestly, I'm telling you, the more you read with this psyche, suppose you're reading a newspaper article, while reading itself, you should have this habit that ki iska main idea kya hoga. You should develop a psyche that your brain while reading should start hunting for the crux of the passage. You should read like that. Don't read something just haywire mein kyunki I'm reading for information. Read like your brain in the back end is trying to solve questions. Read everything in that manner, that in your brain is actually trying to solve questions. Give it like 20-25 days. I think Soham was he's one of your batchmates. So what he does is every day when he reads a newspaper, he tries to understand the main idea of the author and he sends the same to me. Okay, something like that. So while reading anything, try to tackle it as a question, try to understand the crux of the passage, read fast, and that's only, so it's a skill, right? It's a skill. You will not attain it via a short skill or something, aisa nahi, it's like cricket, football, these are skills. There's no trick to football, there's no trick to it. You have to run for like months so that you can get that stamina. So it will take time, but it will surely come to you. Give it more practice.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And now Soham has just rebutted my argument. He's just weakened it by saying that, sir, my number is not growing in logic. So whatever advice I gave him is not working. That's what he's saying. Don't worry, guys. Like, okay, for this, you'll have to speak with your respective logic faculties. I will not delve into it. No, Soham, I was just kidding. Don't worry. I know you didn't say that. Don't worry. You are improving. Yes. Don't worry. And it was just thoda fun ke liye. All right, just give me 2 minutes. I'll drink water. Then let's start with G20. Cool. In the meanwhile, don't use your phones or anything. Give rest to your brain. Let's start with G20. All right, time's up. Screen is visible. Everyone?
Yes.
Hello. Good, good, good. Let's go. G20, okay? So before telling you about G20, I'll tell you a short story. So understand what globalization is, okay? Because see, this topic is something which we will be discussing in another class. We'll probably have a 2 hours discussion on this. We have to take 5-6 events of G20. Okay, so understand something. याद करने में it will make things easier for you if you want to remember. Understand globalization. Okay, now what's that supposed to mean? Prior to 15th century, say in the 1400s ka time, prior to 15th century, what used to happen? The world was not very well connected. I agree, there was Silk Route, trade used to happen, international trade used to happen, but utna zyada connections nahi tha. Fast forward to industrial revolution. Okay, industries started. Okay, बहुत ज़्यादा mass scale manufacturing started. This is where everything comes into picture. Mass scale manufacturing started. Okay, now due to this mass scale manufacturing, there is a question that, okay, we can manufacture 100 units of this product, but we only are a population of 75. Okay, hypothetically speaking. So what should we do with this? Because now we are able to manufacture more, we need to cater to greater number of audience. So international trade comes into picture. Okay, international trades comes into picture. ऐसा नहीं है, इससे पहले भी बहुत सारी trades होती थी, ships were there, but now there is a need to connect the world. ठीक है, fast forward to 1970s, say 1980s. ठीक है, sea routes are defined now. Sea routes are defined now. 1970s ले लो. ठीक है, routes are defined now. Issues like climate change are very much into question. Now see, in a globalized world, ये इंडिया का मैप है, यहाँ पे श्रीलंका है. ठीक है, अगर इंडिया यहाँ पे न्यूक्लियर पोल्यूशन कर रहा है, न्यूक्लियर पोल्यूशन छोड़ो, बहुत सारा कार्बन एमिशन कर रहा है, तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक, वो कार्बन एमिशन क्या सिर्फ इंडिया की बाउंड्री में होगा? वुड इट नॉट ऑल्सो इफेक्ट श्रीलंका? Tell me, it will, right? It will also impact
Yes,
Sri Lanka. So this is the impact of globalization, that anything which is happening in this corner of the planet, okay, is also impacting this corner of the planet. अगर यहाँ पे extreme poverty है, ठीक है, extreme poverty है in say a Southeast Asian country, ठीक है, जिसकी वजह से some sort of disease, some sort of virus is there due to lack of hygiene, it will impact the world. Okay, it will impact the world. Carbon emissions from China will impact USA also, Finland also. ठीक है, oceans level temperature, oceans का level बढ़ेगा, everyone will be affected. So that is why there comes a need of, maintaining international standards. ठीक है, इंटरनेशनल पीस तो बहुत सेकेंडरी बात है कि भाई वॉर ना हो दो कंट्रीज में. ठीक है, उसको तो मान लो, चलो ठीक है, करना सॉल्व कर लिए. क्लाइमेट चेंज कैसे सॉल्व करोगे? ट्रेड डिस्प्यूट्स कैसे सॉल्व करोगे? सो फॉर दैट countries started coming together. Okay, they started coming together. They started sitting on a table. Now see, understand, India में if something happens, you can go to a district court, यहाँ से हाई कोर्ट, यहाँ से सुप्रीम कोर्ट में फर्दर अपील, बट एक हायरार्की है. ठीक है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज हायर देन, नॉट when you'll start reading the law, you will understand that actually Supreme Court and High Court are equivalent in terms of hierarchy. But ठीक है, एक्चुअल में सबको पता है कि, मतलब वो तुम छोड़ो, बस समझ लो, फॉर यू Supreme Court is having more authority than High Court, than that of district court such as Session Court and all. ठीक है, इंटरनेशनल लॉ, ठीक है, अब ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई हमने इंटरनेशनल गवर्नमेंट इलेक्ट की है. We have not elected USA to be our leader or UK to be our leader. 10 governments are sitting on the table. ठीक है, it is not necessary कि इसकी बात मानी जाएगी. So it is basically, international organizations are a creature of consent. What are they? They are creature of consent. That all of these organizations, all of these countries consent to this. We are consenting to this. ठीक है, so whenever an event like G20 or its parent entity G7 is happening, it basically means कि जो भी इस इवेंट से बाहर निकलता है, all of these countries are consenting to it, because the entire entity of G7 and G20 is a creature of consent. So these countries, they realize the need to address some challenges collectively, challenges like climate change, global trade. We need to address them collectively. Only USA cannot handle climate change. So we need to come together, and this is where the concept of international organizations like G20 comes into picture. Yes, Anvesh, you have raised your hand.
Sir, like BRIC summit and Asian countries summit and maritime exercise, like sir, it's means very hectic to learn and read each and every summit. So, sir, what could be the what would the main only summits which could be based on, hot topics only, like this main G20 summit which is going to be held in Delhi, like that.
G20 का सारा कुछ important होगा. Sherpa summit which took place in Jammu and Kashmir, that is important. No, that would be very much important. BRICS is extremely important. ASEAN is very much important. RCEP is very much important. At least 10 summits are there which are very much important for you. These are hot topics, and I mean to say that you should be thorough with them. इसके अलावा भी you have 10 more. It's a big thing. It's a big ocean out there. You cannot filter out बहुत ज़्यादा लगा के, ठीक है? Like, I mean, you cannot filter out 4 or 5 topics. In terms of international summits only, you will have at least 15. All right, Aryan, I will do that. No issues. So base clear है. Now you understand about the international organizations. ठीक है? अब देखो, G20 से पहले एक entity है G7. G7 stands for Group of 7. G20 stands for Group of 20. G7 जो ग्रुप था ना, G7 जो ग्रुप था, ये डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज का हाउस था, क्लब हाउस समझ लो. In 1973 it was originated and it was set up in 1975. Okay, what happened? Big economies of the planet, big economies like USA, UK, okay, big economies of the planet, they came together. They said again same problem कि भाई climate change को resolve करते हैं, trade को resolve करते हैं, something like that. We will meet every year, we will work collectively, we'll do some things like that. ठीक है, आप देखो वर्ल्ड का जो वेस्टर्न ब्लॉक है, इन्होंने अपना एक ग्रुप बना लिया. ठीक है, 1975 में ही. किसको छोड़ दिया? ईस्टर्न ब्लॉक को. अब एशिया एट दैट टाइम, थिंक अबाउट 1980s, you know, Asia is, majority of Asia is developing at this point of time. ठीक है, even countries like Singapore and say China, whom we boast of, they were also developing उस टाइम पे. ठीक है, सिंगापुर का तो क्या ही कहना, उनका अलग ही सीन था. एनीवे, तो इन्होंने इनके बारे में सोचा ही नहीं. ठीक है, दीज G7 कंट्रीज जो 1975 में ही सेटअप हो गए थे, इन्होंने तो इनके बारे में सोचा ही नहीं कि एशिया को छोड़ो आगे बढ़ते हैं. बट धीरे धीरे देखा गया कि अर्ली 1990s में, जो लास्ट डेकेड था 20th सेंचुरी का, द एशियन कंट्रीज स्टार्टेड डेवलपिंग एट अ वेरी फास्ट पेस. वियतनाम, बांग्लादेश, इंडिया, China, all of them started mass manufacturing, large scale manufacturing, which resulted in a lot of carbon emission, a lot of wealth generation, a lot of trade, a lot of export, thus induced a need to incorporate them also. ठीक है, तब इन बड़ी कंट्रीज का थोड़ा दिमाग खुला कि भाई ऐसा करते हैं, इनको भी ले लेते हैं. अब अर्ली लेट 20th सेंचुरीज में जब एशिया में चेंजेस हो रहे थे, तो majority of Asia was facing financial crisis. So let's take an example of India. You all know that in 1991 only, we've had the LPG reforms through which we opened our economy to other. इससे पहले in our country, it was very hard for a foreign country to come and set up factories in India. You know, we did not allow access to our market to foreign companies. So then what happened? They induced a very massive economic crisis in India, and we were forced by IMF. We were forced by IMF to open our economy. You know, IMF bailed us out. They were like, okay, we will give you some money so that you can pay back your loans, your debts. However, for that, you need to open up your economy and let other countries come and trade in it, have access to it. Then only you started having these companies like PepsiCo, you know. Otherwise ये बैन था, ठीक है, इंडिया में तो बैन था. तो एशिया में 19th सेंचुरी 20th सेंचुरी के एंड में फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस चल रहा था. इन ऑर्डर टू काउंटर दैट, द बिग इकोनॉमीज ऑफ द कंट्री of the world, sorry, they thought of creating G20. So this was a little background story I gave you guys. I hope this is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Good. So now we just start, okay? Now it will be thoda easy for you to understand what this thing is all about. So group of 20, it is a forum. Again, it's a forum for the world's 20's largest economies. It was established in the year 1999 in a response to what? Asian financial crisis. ठीक है? G20 meets annually. ठीक है, साल में एक बार मिलते हैं. To discuss global economic and financial issues. India has used the G20 to promote its economic interests, such as securing market access for its goods and services. Now, this year, all of you at least would have saw something in your respective cities about G20, that yes, we are hosting G20. So because it is our presidency, okay, India's presidency of the G20 in 2023 is an opportunity for us to play a leading role in shaping the global economic agenda. ठीक है? अब, though G20 was established in 1999, know this, that India has become a member of the G20, okay, since 2006. ठीक है, ध्यान देना, इसको याद रखना. G20 is that it is an important forum. ठीक है, सब छोड़ो, आगे आओ. हिस्ट्री देखो. It is an international forum comprising of the world's major economies, established in 1999 as a response to find global financial crisis. To be specific, Asian financial crisis. ठीक है, ठीक है, क्या हुआ था? It was created to provide a platform for major economies to discuss and coordinate economic policies. ठीक है, तो trade is a big factor here. Economics is a big factor here. Why? Because it was created as a response mechanism towards the Asian financial crisis. ठीक है, an economic crisis has induced the creation of this forum. That is why majorly it is for discussion related to economic policies. ठीक है? Initially, it consisted of finance ministers and central bank governors from 19 countries, along with the European Union. Over time, it expanded and started including leaders from these countries as well. ठीक है? सबसे पहले क्या हुआ था? Just because, देखो, know this, इसका formation किस पे based है? Economic crisis पे. So when the group started, only the finance ministers used to meet. The economic head of the countries, those who had the portfolio of economics in their respective countries, they used to meet. Head of state नहीं जाते थे, प्राइम मिनिस्टर नहीं जाता था, प्रेसिडेंट नहीं जाता था. ठीक है, जो हमारे फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर है वो मिलते थे. बट ओवर टाइम क्या हुआ कि जो लीडर्स हैं, लाइक प्रेजेंट डे our prime minister, US president, okay, they also started meeting. ठीक है, big things about G20. It represents 2/3 of world's population, 85% of global GDP, and over 75% of international trade. So it's a massive thing. Only these 20 countries represent 75% of the world's economies, almost 85% of the global GDP, and over 75% of international trade. ठीक है, मेजर इकोनॉमीज हैं, यूएस है, जापान है, जर्मनी है, इंडिया है. ठीक है, कूल. So annual summit में क्या होता है? We come together. First, we address the economic challenges such as trade, finance. Then we try to understand social and global issues like development, war, political agendas, climate change. ठीक है, basically we are trying to bolster international cooperation. ठीक है, ताकि लोग साथ आएं. We can promote financial stability. We can address challenges such as climate change. Cool. Clear hai? Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Now let's move forward. Now, G20 is a testimony of the coming together of important geographies by a common intent in the realm of international relation. मतलब वही same बात है, साथ में आना है, ठीक है? Now I'll tell you this. Okay, this is a very generic class on G20, by the way. We're not actually discussing much about, the events which are gonna which has already taken place and further events. थोड़ा सा this is just to build your understanding about G20 and then एक class में सारे events करके सब खत्म कर देंगे, ठीक है? So this is just for your understanding, okay? Cool. The G20 Trioca depicts the current, previous, and the upcoming presidencies of the G20, wherein 3 member countries would work in close association to give effect to the agenda. ठीक है? तो ये ट्रायोका कैसे बनता है? एक जो करंट प्रेसिडेंट है, देन जो प्रीवियस, अब देखो क्या होता है कि G20 is not a permanent body and is accompanied by leadership that is transferred annually among the members. Just like we remembered in ब्रिक्स की भी प्रेसिडेंसी एनुअली ट्रांसफर होती है, ऐसे 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 ऐसे, ठीक है? तो ठीक है, क्या है यहाँ पे, साउथ अफ्रीका जिसने इस बार किया, तो नेक्स्ट ईयर ब्राजील विल बी द प्रेसिडेंट. सिमिलरली G20 में भी एनुअली यू ट्रांसफर द प्रेसिडेंसी, ठीक है? देन देयर इज अ बॉडी ऑफ G20 ट्रायोका. सो सपोज 3 कंट्रीज आर हियर, ठीक है? 3 कंट्रीज आर हियर. अब this is the present president, this is the ex-president, and this is the to-be president. So these 3 form the G20 Trioca. Okay, and these work in close association to work towards the agenda. ठीक है? अब इस बार का जो G20 Trioca है, it consists of Indonesia, Italy, and India, because Indonesia was the one which hosted the previous year's edition. India is hosting this year one, ठीक है? And Italy will host it tomorrow, in the next year, ठीक है? Again, a very important thing, Spain has occupied for the position of permanent guest for the G20. Now, whenever events like G20, G7, BRICS take place, okay, 3 types of members are there. Okay, know this, important hai, 3 types of members are there. First, which are members of the organization itself. तो G20 में कौन हो गई? जर्मनी हो गई, इंडिया हो गई, फ्रांस हो गई, जापान हो गई, ठीक है? सो दीज आर पहला टाइप. सेकंड को गेस्ट बोलते हैं, ठीक है? गेस्ट को. So what happens every year, the president country, so suppose this year India is the president of G20. So India will be allowed to invite several countries which are not actually from this list, which are not the members of G20, as a guest for G20. So these will be the guest countries which will join the G20 meeting. Okay. Similarly, BRICS में भी बुलाया था इस बार, उसका expansion किया. तो the host country, the president country, invites several other countries as a guest countries. ठीक है? अब इसमें 2 टाइप के गेस्ट होते हैं. एक जिनको प्रेसिडेंट इनवाइट करता है. सो इस बार इंडिया प्रेसिडेंट है तो इंडिया विल इनवाइट देम. देन the second type of guest countries are permanent guest countries for the G20. So just like Spain this year has occupied this position that, okay, it becomes a permanent guest. Now the discretion of the president country is not there. Now it is not in the hand of India, or say for the next year Italy, that whether you have to invite Spain or not, because it has become a permanent guest member. So it is yet not in the G20 wala list, but it is a permanent guest. It will always be invited for each and every summit of G20. Clear? Trioca and this.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I guess I made a mistake, a factual mistake. Let me check. Okay, and nonetheless, I'll let you know in the next class. So I have a question. Still now in BRICS countries, these countries are the presidency according to their name. Okay, but now 6 other countries. So how this will work? Yeah, we're yet to see Soham that whether they will change the name, whether they'll make it something like BRICS plus 6 or something. And obviously, the presidency will also be given to the new countries because they are full-fledged members starting from 1st Jan 2024. एंड यूजुअली परमानेंट गेस्ट का जो मेंबरशिप होता है ना, ये जो कुछ कंट्रीज होते हैं जो बार बार कोऑर्डिनेट करते हैं, तो फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिया, देखो इंडिया को अब ऑलमोस्ट हर मीट में बार बार बुलाया जाता है. इन G7 ऑल्सो वी आर मेजरली कॉल्ड ईच एंड एवरी ईयर. ठीक है, तो some big economies, those who think that are associated with the cause, you usually give them this status of permanent membership, and then this is the step towards making you a full-fledged member. सबसे पहले you are invited for 3-4 years, then you become a permanent guest, and then you become a full-fledged member. That's all. So Spain has occupied this position because the remaining countries feel like it. Okay, this is a Spain is associated with the cause, it's doing well, agenda में आ रहा है, something like that. That's all. Cool. Let's further just go through it. I will not take much of your time today. So these are the members. ठीक है, again यहाँ पे 85% कर लेना, ये गलत है, outdated data है. ठीक है, 80% outdated है, 85 new है. So as you can see, big countries, ना, Brazil, Japan, US, UK, Germany, Russia, South Africa, South Korea. Cool. अब इसको मैं अभी के लिए छोड़ देता हूँ. अपकमिंग समिट को थोड़ा सा we'll just touch. This is the last thing we'll be covering today, don't worry. So it is a significant opportunity for us with the theme of, you may have read this again and again, one earth, one family, one future. Okay, basically the world is one. We should cooperate. Okay, that is the theme for this year. We are aiming to unite the world towards a common goal and a better future, emphasizing the importance of global cooperation. Okay, so as us as host, we have and will organize collectively nearly 200 meetings across 32 places. Can anyone tell me where is the main meeting supposed to take place? They have created New Delhi. What is the name of that new building they have created?
Pragati Maidan.
Yes, Pragati Maidan. बहुत ज़्यादा उसको पूरा renovate किया, something like that. So one word, one earth, one future is taken from Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. That means, this means world is one. Okay, world is one. World is one. Cool. We will actively work towards building international agreements, UN type के organization, multilateral, जहाँ पे बहुत सारे countries हों, and we will try to contribute towards a new world order for the post-COVID age. Okay, again, the presidency for us is an opportunity. Yes.
So do you have to learn and remember those events also? Means 32 places, 200 events in every.
हाँ, ये नंबर याद कर लो. इनके सारी इवेंट्स नहीं पढ़ने होंगे. Just know this. ठीक है, ये 200 you can skip, but हाँ मतलब this one you can skip. It's okay. But try to go through it. Okay, just in case they ask, because they may ask.
You have to remember where it is happening.
No, not all of them. Only significant events. Like one of it, which was in Jammu and Kashmir, that is very important. Varanasi mein there was one that is important. The main one is important. Then there was a event related to solar energy that is important. So that all of them I will discuss. जितना बहुत important वाला है, which you have to go through, that I will discuss. Don't worry. Yeah. Cool. Last year क्या हुआ था? 15 नवंबर को हुआ था बाली समिट. ठीक है, उसमें ये 3 बातें की गई थी. बाकी this I will tell you later only. Don't worry. Let's leave this for now. अभी आपको let's just wait for the event to take place, then we'll take a class on this. Okay, do you have any questions? This was just an introductory session, don't worry. Cool, then stay focused, stay healthy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, the class is over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.